What did Krishna really mean when he said Karmanyevadikaraste? Is it anti-hustle? When life is throwing so much at us, already we have too many things to handle. Why do we pick the Gita?
I always say that Gita gives us these 4 therapies.
There's always a clash between what I'm passionate about and what's expected of me. How do we somehow strike the balance?
Then I will be able to understand ki, okay, this is my predominant temperament.
You're also told that you got to take action. So there is so much dilemma. As much as I agree with you on a theoretical level, it is a little difficult for me to digest currently that when we've put in a lot of our efforts, a lot of our energy and resources, and after all this patience, when the result is actually out and you hit the rock bottom, then what do you do?
So Gita tells us,
Hari Om. Welcome to Chick DIY 50 podcast series. We are celebrating 50 years of Chinmaya Vakendra, and in the process, we've launched Chick DIY 50 challenges. If you've not already taken part in those, please follow Chick Mumbai and Chick India to take part in challenges that revolve around self, culture, and country. I am Cherish Rajpurohit. Today we have with us Swami Swatmananda and Saraswati ji. He is one of the most dynamic leaders of Chinmaya Mission. Swamiji has completed his Vedant course from 1998 to 2000 and has been serving the Chinmaya Mission since then. He's been posted in Mumbai. Swamiji expounds the philosophy of Advait Vedanta through talks on Bhagavad Gita, Upanishads, and other texts of Vedanta and Bhakti through camps, meditation retreats, interactive sessions, and so many discussion sessions with youth and adults. Chinmaya Pradeep is a one-of-a-kind outdoor Vedantic park located in Powai, Mumbai. It is a brainchild of Swamiji. It inspires a lot of people through the kind of work there is on Vedanta, on Upanishads, and the life of Swami Chinmayananda. Swamiji has also spearheaded the Youth Empowerment Program, which is a value-based leadership program for youth who want to serve the nation and culture. A lot of corporates, including the Piramals, Reliance, Mahindra and Mahindra, Tata, Toyota and others, have been addressed by him. Swamiji holds weekly discussion groups on Bhagavad Gita for some of the top industrialists in India. Hari Om Swamiji, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hari Om Cherish, wonderful to be here and have this podcast.
Let us start with an invocation. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Om Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Om Shri Gita Matre Namaha. Om Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram.
In the Chick DIY 50 podcast series, today the topic on which we are having a discussion is Gita for Hustlers. The two words, Bhagavad Gita and hustle culture, they look like are from very different worlds. I want to open with a question that how can a spiritual book like the Bhagavad Gita guide people chasing success, startups, and side hustles?
Spirituality is not a way to look at certain things, it's a certain way to look at all things. Swami Chinmayananda used to say this. So every aspect of life can be lived with a spiritual vision. And that is the vision that Gita gives us. Bhagavad Gita was given in the battlefield, not in a remote forest or in some Himalayan cave. Startups, careers, success, goals, that's the modern battlefield today. And how do I perform in this? Because there is stress, competition, worries, anxieties, performance anxiety, pressures, timelines, deadlines, so many things which are there. And this is the modern battleground. Gita tells us how to face all these without getting burnt out mentally. It builds emotional resilience in us. It tells us how do I achieve success amidst all these. And so the 48th verse of the second chapter beautifully gives 4 points for hustlers. Yogastha kuru karmani sangam tyaktva dhananjaya siddhya siddhyo samo bhutva samatvam yoga uchyate. That be anchored in a higher vision. Drop all inflexibility and attachment to action. be flexible. When the results come, learn to accept the results as they come and be equanimous in mind before, during, and after the action. If I remember these, I can achieve so many beautiful things in life, and I don't have to give up my work, success, goals. Gita is to help us to achieve all these.
Right. Right, Swamiji. So a lot of times why do we even come to the Gita when there is so much going on already? We are coming here because we are feeling lost, because we are sometimes feeling so drained out, burnt out, and we need to find something that will help us anchor. That's why we are wanting to also look at these two things, and a lot of youngsters are coming back to traditional knowledge to be able to pave their way through the current modern challenges. And that's why we're speaking about this today. All of us want to pick up the Gita and probably draw some lessons from it, extract the best management lessons from it, and all of that. But could you give us the perspective on how to even approach the Gita when we are looking at it, because we want to pave through the challenges that we are currently facing?
So look at the Gita as a manual to strengthen your mind. Look at the Gita as something that will help me to anchor myself within myself,
Mhm.
where I stop depending on things outside for my self worth, where I stop depending on validation from people,
Right.
where I look within and strengthen my own strengths. Look at the Gita as a very inspirational guide to manifest my potential, to achieve the best that I can do with my human life. And also something that will give me that inner strength to face disappointments, challenges, because they are a part of life. And yet, move on with what life is bringing, achieve what I really want to achieve, make a difference, and live a glorious life. Gita is a manual for that.
Right.
And ultimately, it will help me also to realize my infinite nature as pure consciousness. So, look at the Gita as your uh, BFF, as your best friend forever, who will be there with you in and through all the ups and downs of your life.
Right, Swamiji. This brings me to my next question. What did Krishna really mean when he said karmanye vadikaraste? Is it anti-hustle?
In fact, it is exactly opposite.
Okay.
Karmanyavadhikaraste is saying that you have the right to act. You have the privilege to act, in fact. The word adhikara there is not to be translated as right. It is
Mhm.
that human beings alone have the privilege to act. Everybody else does impulsive action. We can alone do intelligent action. Self awareness is the maximum in human beings. And so it is not anti hustle. Gita doesn't tell us don't strive for the results or don't expect the results. Gita is actually telling us you have the privilege to act. So keep showing up. Act to the best of your capabilities. Don't keep only result as your motive of action. Don't insist on the result. Gita doesn't say don't expect a result. Gita says expect a result, but don't insist on the result. Without expectation, we can do nothing. If this podcast is happening and some people are listening to it, it is because they have an expectation that they would gain some knowledge. Because we
Absolutely.
have some expectation. Krishna also came down, took a form because he had an expectation to protect dharma. So it's not possible to do action without expectation, but it is possible to do action without insistence on the result. I can expect a result, work hard, but I should also learn to accept the result. So Gita is not anti-hustle. In fact, Gita is saying that don't let success define your worth. Whatever result comes, the growth that you have achieved in the process of working, that is the real success actually. So Karmanyavadikaraste actually tells us that don't let failure ruin your mood, don't let success define your worth, uh, don't let delays of the outcomes make you disappointed. Keep showing up, do your best, and you leave the rest. If I apply this, I will achieve everything in life, whatever I want to achieve. So Karmanyavadikaraste is not anti-hustle. In fact, it is telling you to work hard and achieve what you want to achieve.
Thank you so much for bringing in the perspective that expectations is not wrong. So, majorly, the confusion that all of us have currently, the problem also we have with this kind of translation is that we're asked not to expect at all. And sometimes even I sit and wonder that if I don't expect, then why would I even do something? Thank you for bringing that perspective, a distinction between expectation and insistence on the results. So, thank you.
I must learn to expect a result and also accept it. And that's why we always say that accept the results with a wow attitude, with or without. With success, you say wow. Without it, also you say wow. And you move ahead in life, focusing on what you really want to achieve.
So, Swamiji, today when we look at Gita, and today you're speaking of Bhagavad Gita because there are so many, and just for the clarity of our audience, we're speaking of Bhagavad Gita today. It is marketed as everything but what it is meant to be. As in, for somebody, it's a blueprint on leadership for somebody, and it's not wrong. But what is the real purpose of Gita even being told? Why did Krishna tell the Gita?
So, as you said, Bhagwan could have given a pep talk to Arjun when he collapsed between the two armies.
Mhm.
He could have told Arjun that, come on, get up, you can do it, you have done it before, and you have to win this war. But that is not the main purpose of the Gita. To make Arjun fight or to make him do his duty. Gita is not a warmongering book. Gita is a moksha shastra. It is not just a dharma shastra. It is that which tells us about who we are truly. At the relative plane, what is my Swadharma? And at the absolute plane, what is my Swarupa Dharma? Who am I? I am not this body, mind, and intellect. And when that knowledge of the self Arjun discovered, all his confusions disappeared because Gita is a cure from the root cause of our sorrow, and that is ignorance of the self. Gita is not just relief methods. Yes, Gita definitely helps to transform fear into faith, transform confusion into clarity, transform inaction into dynamic action, transform sloth into success. But mainly, it is to understand who am I, what do I really seek, how do I attain it, and fulfill the purpose of human life. And that's why Gita is a dharma shastra as well as a moksha shastra. It's not just to make our life here more effective, but to help us to go beyond the very cycle of life and death and realize that gaining which nothing more remains to be gained. That's the purpose of the Bhagavad Gita.
Oh, thank you, Swamiji, for that. I think this way our generation is going to approach the Gita in a more profound manner. Given that youngsters today, they are really looking up to Gita, but it's also received with a lot of criticism by our own elders. We're told that Gita is like a retirement plan, something that only when you grow up or when you grow old should you touch it. And when youngsters pick up the Gita, it's looked at with a lot of scrutiny. So, Swamiji, another question which comes to us is that when life is throwing so much at us already, we have too many things to handle. Why do we pick the Gita?
Precisely because life is throwing so many things at us, we need inner strength, we need resilience, we need clarity, we need courage, we need a lot of emotional balance. Because today we are seeing that life is not as simple as it was earlier. Today, life has become much more fast paced, complicated, stressful. There are mental health challenges, there are relationship issues, there are so many difficulties that people go through on a day to day basis. And Gita is precisely given for facing all these with great clarity, confidence, courage. And a person who has studied the Gita, that's what happened in the Mahabharat war. Arjun was in a stressful situation. Though he was prepared, he had done his tapasya for 12 years, attained weapons, and he had defeated Kauravas once before. But when he came face to face with the challenge and it hit him hard that now I have to kill my own people, he collapsed. In such a situation where a prepared person, strong minded person collapses, Gita is given for such people how to bounce back, how to get back to focus, how to do my duty, how to be successful and happy. And when do I want to be successful and happy? Here and now, when I'm young, or post retirement? Do I postpone my success and happiness? If I want to postpone my success and happiness, I must postpone studying the Gita.
Well,
If I want success and happiness now, I must study the Gita now.
I think that's a very, very valid point you just made. Swamiji, speaking of mental health challenges that you just touched upon, how does the Gita actually help you navigate through the stresses of life?
Gita helps us to first and foremost face our challenges.
Mhm.
Gita doesn't advocate escapism at all. Arjun literally wanted to escape. Bhagwan makes him face his emotional challenges, his attachments to his own people, which overwhelmed him, which eclipsed his clarity of thought, which led him to inaction, which literally led him to depression, where he threw away his bow and arrow, he had tears in his eyes, he did not want to do his duty, he wanted to run away. Gita helps us first to face our challenges because what I can feel, only that I can heal. If I escape, I will not be able to feel it. I want to escape, I can distract myself through many things. But if I feel it, okay, this is what I am going through. That's the first step. Gita also helps us to equip ourselves with that emotional strength through detachment, through the balance of love and detachment. It gives us purpose in life. It makes us aware of our duties. It gives us tremendous strength to overcome obstacles in our daily life. It connects us to the ultimate power. Call it God, truth, reality, whatever you want. The cause of the entire universe. It makes us aware of who we are. And when we understand, it gives us the big picture of life. I always say that Gita gives us these 4 therapies. One is knowledge therapy, which is Jnana Yoga, where it tells us about our identity, our purpose, who we are, what is our true nature, what is our Swadharma. Second is the emotional therapy, which is Bhakti Yoga. It helps us to be emotionally anchored. How to overcome our negativities, anger, greed, jealousy, lust, passion. How to be connected to the deeper source of love, of compassion, of being united with Bhagwan or surrendering to the divine, learning to accept life as it comes. That's the emotional therapy. Then there is meditation therapy, which is Dhyana Yoga, which Gita tells us the techniques how to still our mind. Greatest strength and happiness we attain when we know how to still our mind. And lastly, it gives us the action therapy. How to get into action, do the action with great dexterity. Yoga karmasu kaushalam, Gita says. So it has a lot of beautiful insights to empower our mind, to face the mental health challenges that we have, to rise above them, and to come to a state where we don't fall into mental health challenges. And finally, to rise beyond the mind, to realize who you are.
Thank you for putting that across in such a lucid fashion. But Swamiji, whatever you just mentioned, it sounds very contradictory to what we've heard. For us, spirituality is always portrayed as if you have to give up your ambition, you have to give up fun, you have to give up goals, you have to give up anything that is enjoyable. That is spirituality. And somebody who's spiritual, we visualize somebody sitting in a cave, super serious, not smiling at all. How do you see that?
Gita was given by Krishna to Arjun. The word Krishna itself means most attractive, and looking at whom one understands that in spite of all the challenges that he went through, all difficulties, his whole life was a series of sorrows and tragedies. He smiled in and through all of them. And it was given to Arjun when he actually wanted to escape and go into a cave and sit and meditate, be in a forest. Arjun did not want to do his duty. So Gita actually tells us the opposite. It tells us you must have ambition. You must have a higher purpose. Do it. Have a higher purpose, because the higher the purpose is, the higher the goals you have, the greater is your inspiration. Greater is your potential that will manifest. Gita does not even give any hint anywhere to say that give up ambition, give up enjoying life, give up exploring. In fact, Gita tells us the exact opposite. It says explore, manifest your potential. Swadharma nidhanam shreya, it says that do what is your inner calling, find out what is your inner calling. For that, explore what you want to explore. All that Gita says is do it in a righteous way, do it in a dharmic way, do it without compromising with your values and with integrity. When we have that clarity, in fact, if you see those masters who have been speaking on the Gita, so many great masters have spoken on the Gita. Look at their lives. They have never become serious and silent and just went away into a cave. Whether it's Vivekananda or even freedom fighters like Lokmanya Tilak or our Puja Gurudev Swami Chinmaya or Vinoba Bhave or Aurobindo, so many of them. Each of them, if you look at their lives, they have led such brilliant lives. And so, this is a wrong notion that people have. Instead, instead of this, one should be actually thinking that how quickly can I introduce my children and my youngsters to the Gita, because it helps us to learn the art of right action. It helps us to become successful, happy, make the best of our life, to take charge of our life.
Right. I really hope that people spend some time and reflect on this and also put this into action sometime. Now, what I have for you is straight out of a college hangout, that there are things that we are passionate about, and there are expectations that the society has, majorly the parents have. So there's always a clash between what I'm passionate about and what's expected of me. How do we somehow strike the balance? How do we move forward on taking decisions?
Yes, you use the right word, balance. Where we are able to balance our swadharma, what is our inner calling, what we are passionate about, with certain expectation of the society, that is wonderful. How to balance that? Through clarity and communication, by understanding very clearly that what am I really made for and what gives me satisfaction, what will manifest my potential maximum, and what does the society expect from me. Is it aligning well? If there is a confusion, can I explain? Can I make it clear to the family around me or my friends, the relatives, society, whatever, whomever I need to explain to? So the balance would come through communication, because they may be concerned about how will you take care of yourself, what will be the financial consequences, how emotionally secure are you, how are you able to handle your life as you grow in a few decades. So their concerns need to be addressed. If I am able to give them that confidence that yes, through this also I will be able to achieve, then possibly that balance is struck. But if that doesn't happen and I have to choose, then Gita always says that I have to choose what is my inner calling and what I am passionate about. But one thing very clearly I should know, it should not be an impulsive choice or an egoistic choice just to prove somebody wrong, or just to say कि they want me to do this, I'm not going to do this. It should be a choice born out of clarity as well as your conviction. Intellectually, you are clear this is what I'm made for. Emotionally, you are convinced that this is what gives me happiness and I have felt it or I have experienced it. And so I want to choose this. If it is just born out of ego or impulse, then Gita says that is not the right way to act, because that is where then I may realize much later that I made a wrong choice. Because choices born out of ego can lead us to wrong choices. Like Arjun wanted to run away. If he had actually run away, he would have lived in guilt and regret whole life later on. So let us choose wisely, intelligently, with clarity and conviction, and stick to what I am really made for.
Right, Swamiji. You just used the word Swadharma. Now, how do we identify that? It sounds a very loaded word, and I really wish if there was a quiz I could take and just like that know my Swadharma, or rather, all these expectations that you're asking us to balance. It's a little intense, whatever you just spoke. how do you simplify for us? How do you find your Swadharma? How do I find my Swadharma?
Swadharma, one of the main things to understand is I need to know myself. So, introspection is the most important aspect. Even when people take psychometric tests, etc., what are those psychometric tests helping you to do? They are helping you to think about yourself, what your likes are, what your preferences are, what your temperament is, what your emotional state is. It will help to understand. So, introspection is most important. If we train ourselves to introspect daily, observe ourselves, so we need to spend some time with ourselves. A lot of time of ours goes in escaping through various things that we do, through the technology that we have, through the people, through many other avenues. Nothing wrong in spending time with any of them, but I need to spend some time in the day with myself, analyzing my behavior, what went well today, what was difficult for me today, what are my fears, what did I feel happy about, what did I explore new today. So if I spend time with myself, one aspect is the introspection. Second is doing what gives me great joy, where I forget the sense of time. Like you said, if there was a questionnaire we could answer and it would just reveal. There are questions. Honestly, there are such simple fundamental questions which we can answer and it can give great clarity. Few questions are like this. Doing what do I lose the sense of time? If money was not a criteria, what would I do? What would I like to do and spend the rest of my life and find my happiness in that? Doing what maximum potential of mine will manifest. What is it that I can do by which I can make a difference to the society? What is it that I do where I feel the joy in the work itself? Praise, reward, recognition is extra bonus, but I find the joy in that work itself. And what is it that I do that at the end of the day I feel very satisfied that I had a nice, productive day? Some of these questions, if I start answering, it would help. And if I need to explore different fields to identify, I should do that. So, third aspect is exploration. First is introspection. Second is asking oneself fundamental questions. Third is to explore. Try different fields and explore and observe yourself through that. Fourth, also ask people, because certain things about ourselves we know, but there are many things about us that we don't know, people know. So they can guide us, they can say कि when you do this you feel you are so happy, or we feel this is your calling. So ask, consult people, let them give you their opinions, especially those who are closest to you. Traditionally, Gita would also say that depends on your mix of sattva, rajas and tamas, which we call as a varna vyavastha. So if we know what is my predominant combination, am I predominantly sattvic? Then I need to choose fields which are creative, research oriented, thinking, contemplative. If I am predominantly rajasic, then maybe it is leading, protecting, guiding, investing, making resources, many of those fields. And if I'm predominantly at a body level, then I need to do more hard work, physical things. Then I need to choose skills where my physical skills are utilized and I'm actually doing hard work, maybe drawing, painting, sculpting, serving in any other way at the physical level. So it would say that Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, this is a broad temperament. Each one, Gita is very clear. It is not based on the birth. It is based on your inner mix of these three gunas. And based on that, you choose your karma. It is based on your guna and karma. So that determines what is my Swadharma.
Right, Swamiji. Brings me to a point that how do you identify if you're sattva dominant or rajas dominant? How do you do that?
So first I need to be aware of what are the three gunas. So 14th chapter of the Gita will say very clearly, Sattva guna is Tatra Sattvam Nirmalatvat Prakashakam Anamayam Sukha Sangena Badhnati Jnana Sangena Chanagha. So when the mind is pure, quiet, peaceful, curious, wants to know, then that is Sattva guna. Rajoguna is dynamism, activity, ambitions, goals, success, achievement, popularity, fame. Along with that comes attachment, greed, jealousy, those things also. Tamoguna is laziness, lethargy, indulgence, procrastination, ignorance, indolence. Each of us have all the three gunas. So I need to understand the three gunas properly first. I need to observe through the day how my time goes, in which guna maximum do I spend my time. Doing what gives me that happiness. And over a period of time, as I observe, then I will be able to understand ki, okay, this is my predominant temperament. And it is not that we cannot change that.
Mhm.
We can also change that temperament because we have the free will. Once we understand that, if I feel ki, no, from this temperament I want to rise above, I want to increase a particular guna, I put in that effort, increase that guna, and then choose, okay, based on this now, I would like to choose these professions.
Right, Swamiji. I would like to hold this topic of free will for later. And in the flow of this conversation, one more clarity that I seek is that we also get bored very fast. As in, you just mentioned that you need to identify what makes you happy and what you're driven towards. But it's also true that if we honestly observe, we'll also find out that, for a certain period of time, you're really interested in something, then you lose interest. And in fact, the elders also keep pointing out कि ये तुम्हें अभी अच्छा लग रहा है, लेकिन how can you decide that you will love it for the whole course of your life? So in this is actually a dilemma. How do you see that?
It is true, our mind is fickle, no doubt, and everybody's mind is fickle. But if we go by that, then we can't commit to anything.
Mhm.
Mind does change. We keep up certain commitments, we get out of certain commitments and take up new commitments also. That's how our whole life goes on as we grow from childhood. Certain things we play at the childhood with certain toys, and then we outgrow them. Then we come up to the youth, then we have certain enjoyments of the youth and certain explorations and a different mindset. Then again, the mind changes. So, mind is going to change. There's no doubt in that. All I need to understand is keep my focus on, am I evolving and growing higher or not? Is it helping me to become better than who I was yesterday? Is it helping me to have a spirit of exploration in life? Is my attention, today I would say this, that attention training is very, very crucial, and attention is the price we are paying for so many things. People, when they scroll on the reels, when they see the shorts, when they see the videos, it is such a short attention span now that we are losing some of the patience. And so we need to understand ki how is my attention being trained? How am I able to be in it? And what is it? Why did I choose that? That purpose should be clear. If something we are choosing for life, what is my purpose? Did I choose it keeping a long term purpose in mind, or it was just out of immediate gratification? If it is out of immediate gratification, I am going to lose interest very fast because that immediate gratification will last for a short time. But if it is for a long term, then I am going to be able to sustain. Whenever I feel a little dip in my motivation, I should remind myself of the purpose. This is why I chose this. This is why this is so important to me. What is my emotional connect with that, what I have chosen? I need to remind myself of that. And another thing is, when I see the benefits of it, when I see how it impacts me positively, how I feel good about it, then it will bring that motivation to continue that. So yes, while there may be certain choices which we feel that immediately how will I commit, but I need to consider all these long-term impact, how it will align with my Swadharma, how does it make me evolve into a better person every day, what is it that is there in it which I resonate with. If I understand all this, then I can make a very well informed choice, and as life brings challenges, then one can navigate through them. Either we find a better interest and we evolve out of this, or we try to discover deeper and deeper layers of the same and go uh, higher and higher.
True. I think this makes sense. Swamiji, but you just spoke about instant gratification, and patience is definitely a tough sell for Gen Z. I can speak for us, our generation, and in fact, generally also, even when we look at the whole of human race, to be patient and waiting for the results. The question here is that you're told that you got to trust the process, but you're also told that you got to take action. So there is so much dilemma. How do you? What does Gita tell on that?
So Gita tells us take the action and trust the process. Both.
Both.
But it happens sometimes together, sometimes sequentially.
Okay.
When you have done the action, then you trust the process that the action you have done will give you the result that is required. And if it doesn't come, introspect and work on it again. When you have finished the action, then don't be anxious. Whatever result comes will come. My anxiety is not going to change anything. So trusting the process is one aspect. In the action that I am doing, if I have done my best, then it will become easier to trust the process. If a student has studied well, written well, then marks are a question of time. The result will come in time and he can trust the process, ki bhai it will happen. If one has not done well, then to say ki now you trust the process is going to be challenging because it will not happen. Then the anxiety will be there. So what does the Gita say? Gita says you do your best and you leave the rest. The Gita is very clear about it, that result comes later. Action is now. Result is the effect. Action is the cause. If you focus on the cause, result will take care of itself. The effect will take care of itself. So trusting the process means that you do what you can do now to the best of your ability, and then you trust the process. Whatever has to happen will happen, and you have the ability to face it, and you can deal with it as it comes. As far as patience is concerned, yes, Gita also talks about patience. It says about dhriti and patiently overcome obstacles that come. Very important is to understand this, that by my being impatient, I am not going to be able to speed up the process. A simple example I always give is you need to go to the 15th floor. The lift is yet on the 10th floor and you know that it is coming. You have pressed the button to go up. What can you do now? If you impatiently keep pressing the button, is it going to come faster? It is not. It is going to come at its own time.
Right.
I need to know how to occupy myself during that time. When I don't know how to occupy myself during that time, that's why I become impatient and then I need some distraction and I need to keep pressing something or check my phone or talk to somebody. So I need to have that clarity that how do I occupy myself? I have done certain things. Now I need to wait for the results to come. At that time, how am I occupying my mind? What am I doing? What are the things I am engaging with? And I know in time the result will come. So if I have that clarity, then I also know how to handle my mind. The challenge also is many times people don't have that clarity. And they feel that being impatient is what will give me results faster. That's a wrong notion. Result will come in its own time. We are not encouraging laziness and lethargy here. We are not saying that somebody who is supposed to do their job and is not doing it, now you are waiting patiently and then keeping your mind occupied. I'm not talking about that. I'm
Right.
saying what you have done, you have done. Now there's nothing more you can do. And you just need to wait. For those things, patience is very important. In fact, everything happens in nature in its own pace. We may speed up a little more or less. We eat food. Digestion will happen at its own pace. If we want it to happen very, very fast, it doesn't work like that. Same way in the world outside. Speed has its own importance, there's no doubt. And one can use speed as a tool, but don't get used by speed. Because if the mind is racing all the time, that itself is the obstruction in achieving what I want. That itself will be taking me away from what I want. And so, patience, if I learn to quieten, my mind is in a better state to accept also what life is bringing. And in case it is not pleasant to deal with it, I have the strength. If my mind is racing, even the smallest of the things is enough to disturb. Like when people are doing overspeeding,
Right.
one small little obstruction that comes on the way is sufficient to land up in a massive accident.
Absolutely.
Same way, when I understand this pace at which I am going is not a natural pace. I need to know how to use speed and I need to know how to slow down. Gita teaches us both. The word there in the Gita, there's a word called daksha. Daksha means who is very efficient
Mhm.
and who is able to achieve things at their speed in the right time, in the right way. At the same time, Gita also tells us to have dhriti, to have fortitude, to have patience, and teaches us techniques to quieten the mind through breath control, meditation, pranayam, so many things. I need to learn both so that when my mind has to be fast, I am fast. When I have to slow down, I can slow down. Otherwise, I'm running only in one mode. That is what creates all the stress.
Right. That's an interesting combination of how should one be. Ideal one. As much as I agree with you on a theoretical level, I mean, it is a little difficult for me to digest currently that when we've put in a lot of our efforts, a lot of our energy and resources, and after all this patience, when the result is actually out and you hit the rock bottom, then what do you do? As in, you've invested a lot, and that's why it's pretty natural for you to feel very, very bad about it. But then to come back, bounce back, is actually a challenge. Could you give us some actually practical, simple hacks on what do you do when something has turned out unfavorable for you?
So it is natural to feel disappointed, and Gita doesn't say don't feel disappointed at all. Arjun was on the verge of complete breakdown, and he did break down fully, and he hit the rock bottom. Gita tells us that when you have hit that rock bottom, there's only one direction, and that is up, that you will rise. Have faith in yourself first. Results do not define who you are. You are a worthy person no matter what results have come. You are not lesser because result is not favorable, and you are not greater because result is extremely favorable. It is only one event, one aspect of your life. It doesn't define your entire life. It doesn't define who you are. It is not a judgment on you. If I am clear about it, then I will look at it only as an event. Yes, disappointment will be there, no doubt. But I will not wallow in self pity, victimization mode. I will not engage in self destructive habits or get into drugs, depression, suicidal tendencies. I will be able to objectively, as you use the word, bounce back. How will I bounce back? So the Gita says, lift yourself by yourself, do not condemn yourself. Uddhared atmana atmanam na atmanam avasadayet. If I have my goal clear, ki this is what I want to achieve, the result is not being favorable is only a temporary setback. It is only telling me to put in more efforts to identify where I went wrong, to introspect and find out what could be done better. If I have a chance to reattempt, and I should reattempt and let my focus go on that. Manu Bhaker, when she could not win the Olympics gold in the earlier Olympics, she was disappointed. She had put in so much of hard work for it.
Right.
But she bounced back quickly, put her mind into where she can refine herself. And she also quotes the Gita saying that the philosophy of the Gita, Karmanyavadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana, helped me a lot to focus on the process and not be attached to the result. And finally, she went ahead and won the gold. So she did not allow that to overwhelm her.
Right.
Neither the defeat nor the success. She stayed anchored. Gita says, be anchored. Yes, life brings situations where we get shaken up, but come back to balance soon. Because none of this is going to define who you are. These are effects of what your personality is. And when we do our best, we keep focusing. So, what is my goal? I see that and I keep moving up.
Right.
That should inspire me. And if there is no chance to attempt it again, then I need to figure out a different course of life. I need to take up that as a challenge. And lastly, what appears unfavorable and a disappointment now
Mhm.
can actually be an opening door for something absolutely new, different, and few years down the line, when one introspects, one would find that it was good that I didn't achieve that, because I am who I am today because of that. So I can transform. If it is all dependent on me, how I'm branding it.
Right.
I can use it as an opportunity and become a victor, or I can use it as a means to become a victim. That depends on me how I utilize it.
You're so right, Swamiji. But in the situation when you're not doing well for yourself, that time you can see everybody around you is wanting to brand you that you're unworthy. And that time it really becomes difficult for you to still maintain a positive attitude.
It is true. It does appear difficult, and the social conditioning and branding does affect us, which is why we need to be anchored within.
Right.
Which is why a certain clarity of purpose, a certain understanding about who I am, a certain quietude of the mind
Mhm.
helps me to anchor within, where I don't depend on things, people, situations for my self esteem. That is
Right.
what is the freedom. That is what Gita says, live in freedom now, not when you are retired. You don't need any of this after you are retiring. Now we need it. So, when I understand this very clearly, I will anchor within. We always say in Vedant, do not connect your work and your worth. You are worthy no matter what you achieve or you don't achieve. This is not to encourage complacency, but this is to understand that my work doesn't define me. That is one aspect of my life. I'm not even talking about infinite reality as consciousness, as your true nature. I'm talking about you as an individual.
Right.
I have so many aspects to my personality. Work is one aspect of it. Each one has so much potential. If I focus on the potential, society may keep branding. What is important is, are you branding yourself? If you are branding yourself unworthy, deal with that first. Society has branded every great person as unworthy at some point in time. But those people did not brand themselves, they did not allow it to affect them. And even if it affected them, they knew how to bounce back. Why? Because the goal that you love is more important. Do you love the goal that you have? Or are you much more in love with the regret of not having achieved? If you love the regret more, that's why one will get affected.
Could you give us a few examples of people who are successful or masters who've been branded unworthy and then have bounced back?
So many of them, for example, suppose we say um, Gurudev himself, Swami Chinmaya himself, he was branded that, he is very style conscious, and he is very outgoing, and he is extrovert, and he is outspoken.
Mhm.
Uh, People were stunned when he decided to even take sannyas. They thought he will take sannyas. What he will do taking sannyas? But he did not allow it to change his thought process.
Right.
He was fighting for the freedom of the country also. The British also, and he was a student revolutionary leader. He was not the follower of non-violence path. He was the revolutionary leader. And British had branded him, they had jailed him, they had beaten him up almost to death and threw him out to die. So many things happened. But his conviction was, I need to fight for the freedom of my country.
Right.
He fought for the political freedom. And then he soon realized that India will be free, but Indians will not be free. And he went to expose the sadhus, sannyasis, and understood their life and transformed himself.
Right.
Then when he wanted to come down and he wanted to give this knowledge to everybody, again people branded him saying, what are you doing? How do you even think of giving this knowledge to the masses, to everybody? This is supposed to be for specific few, and you are giving in English language, Mlecha Bhasha, and you are abusing our scriptures. May your tongue be blasted into 1,000 pieces. So much of criticism, no support. People did not come forward to give even a home, even a place for conducting classes and talks. And imagine, you have left your home, you have left your guru, you have left Himalayas, you have left everything, and you have come down and no support. You have two choices. You can say that, okay, I quit. People don't want to transform. To hell with them. I go back to my Himalayas. Or you can say that, no, I came down with my conviction. Mother Ganga inspired me, and I'm going to put in my effort. So on 23rd December 1951, he started his first talk. And there were only 5 people
Right.
in the audience. And he announced on that day, the topic he gave was, let us be Hindus. To a Hindu audience in a Hindu temple, a Hindu monk is talking, and the topic is, let us be Hindus. This was his courage and conviction.
Right.
And when only 5 people came, he would have thought, let us start small, grow big. You and I would have thought that. But he didn't think like that. What he decided, he said on 31st December, which is only 7 days. In 7 days, he said, I'm going to start a talk series which will last for 100 days.
Oh, goodness. That's a
And-
big dream.
And by the end of that talk series, there were thousands of people listening to him. So we have to understand, what is the conviction that one has? What do I want to achieve? How deeply do I love that goal that I want to achieve? And also Gurudev also always said, higher the goal, greater is the inspiration, no doubt. But higher the goal, greater are the obstacles also which will come. If you are in love with your goal, you will overcome any obstacles, any disappointments, any failure, how much ever rock bottom you hit. Look at any other example also of whether it is Amitabh Bachchan or even a Hrithik Roshan or even a Sachin Tendulkar or any of these people. How many times they would have hit rock bottom? Amitabh Bachchan lost everything in terms of his money when he started that ABCL, Amitabh Bachchan Corporation Limited, and he was in debt, and then through KBC he bounced back. I'm just giving simple examples from the day-to-day life.
Absolutely.
I mean, like this, if you see, there are so many great people who at one point people would have said nothing, now this is over, finished, nothing can happen. But they did not lose hope because they loved their goal. They loved what they were doing, and they bounced back.
We've been passing down this query generations down generations. We see that people who are cutting corners, they're thriving, and people who are working hard or rather sticking to their ideals, they're not being successful.
And it appears, oh, this person was corrupt and he attained so much of success, and this person was good and he's still not there. In fact, he may be going through difficulties also. So why is this happening? So if somebody is prospering, it is because of the good karmas that they have done.
We also see that my actions are also impacting somebody else's life. Somebody else's actions are impacting my life, and that time we are pretty agitated when we see that जो मैंने किया ही नहीं है उसका मैं क्यों सफ़र करूं.